All right. Hey guys, it's Marina with Artworthy Life, where I teach Christ-centered art journaling that gets you into God's Word every day. Welcome to day 8 of our October Doodle a Day challenge. I'm so glad you all are joining me here, and I'm really thrilled for today's doodle. If you don't already have the tracer, make sure to download ahead of time. As I said before, on Instagram, it's in my bio. If you're on Facebook, it's in the description of the video, and it's also on the post that I just made. And if you're on YouTube, it's in the description. So click that link, download today's tracer, which is a super cute little scarecrow. Let me show that to the camera over here, both of these places. So if you have not seen this tracer already, make sure you download it because it's free and it's only available today. So make sure you grab it for today. Click that and download it. Hey, Bonnie, joining on Instagram. So glad to see you this morning. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, say hello. Tell me where you're watching from. And tell me if you have any mazes in your area, because those are one of my favorite fall activities. And as I was designing this tracer, I thought, I want to go to a maze. So yeah, go ahead if you've been one of those. We're going to go ahead and get started on the right foot with some scripture. And as you know, we have been going through our Sermon on the Mount in Matthew. So I'm going to go ahead and keep reading from where we left off yesterday. And then I'm going to let Facebook and Instagram and the YouTube and all that tell everybody that I'm live. And we'll get started right after that. So let me go ahead and get that for us. And just so you know, this month, we are doing one of these doodle-a-days every day, except for Sunday. So make sure you're joining us because it's way more fun to do it live. I get to see your comments and everything. And then when you finish a doodle, post it. I love to see them. I comment as much as I can on everybody's stuff. So tag Artworthy Life, share it on your Facebook page, share it on your Instagram, and tag me. I'd love to see it. Alrighty, we are in Matthew chapter 5, and we're picking up in verse 38. Here we go. Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn thou not away. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. I just love that scripture. I love that so much. And, you know, it says be therefore perfect, which basically means complete, finished. And we can only do that through Christ, which is amazing. It doesn't mean be like a perfect person. Obviously, we're human. But that's our goal, striving for closer and closer fellowship and walk with God. I think it's amazing. Bonnie says, I don't think we have one here. I'll have to research and see. Oh, a maze? I hope you find one because they're really fun. Yeah, I would think in Florida. They probably don't grow much corn, do they? In all that sandy soil. Tammy says, good afternoon. So excited with this doodle scarecrow. She is so cute. Now let's see. Wasn't it Tammy that requested a scarecrow? I'm pretty sure. So that reminds me to tell you guys, as I'm on here live, if you come up with something that you would love to see that's in the fall harvest theme, feel free to leave it in the comments. It's very likely that I will paint it. Several of the paintings we've had already have been requests. So please go ahead and leave it in the comments. I will most likely get to it. And if I don't, it'll be great for other people to see ideas for their art journaling and doodling as well. Yesterday, I did not get to do a full art journal page. I even said that I would, and I didn't. I didn't even think of it. So apologize for that. Next week, I'll try to do a little better on that. But I got so wrapped up in yesterday's doodle. And if you missed that, that was this beautiful leaf that I enjoyed so much painting. So if you would like to see a full journal page demo from start to finish, I usually have that on Fridays. And I just completely spaced it. I was having so much fun with the doodle itself. So we'll do that next week. Make sure that you tune in every Friday for that. And every day for a doodle a day. It's been really fun. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead. Looks like everybody's joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So I'm gonna flip the camera around for Instagram and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So hang tight while I do that. I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys going. Alrighty, and here's my little watercolor page, which I've already traced out. Make sure Facebook can see that. Yeah, I think you can. All right. And I traced her real light today, so I know it's going to be a little bright for Facebook people, but should be able to follow along nonetheless. Now, today, our doodle schedule, I guess color scheme schedule, this doodle is going to coordinate best with these two paintings we've previously done. And so you'll notice both these paintings have a little bit of plaid in them. And I'm going to incorporate some of that plaid into her painting today. So if you want to have your basket of apples and your umbrella nearby, that might be a good idea just for color reference. Those are such pretty colors. So to start off, we're going to mix up a few colors. And I got to get my Bible out of the way. I sat right next to it. So what we're going to do is, oh, and if you don't already know, here are the brushes I'm using. They're pretty small. So just grab some small brushes. Here's my hand next to it for reference, pretty small. And I'm using my Como Rebbe Mozart watercolor set and these little brushes. I have 2 jars of water, one clean water, one water for washing, basically used water, dirty water. They both start off clean, but one of them ends up way less clean at the end. Hey, Pam. On Instagram, picture is partially cut off. Thank you, Pam. Here we go. All righty. I know Facebook is super bright, so hopefully you guys will be able to see if I back up just a little bit. Okay. Thank you guys for keeping track of that. So again, we're going to go ahead and mix up one of the colors I've been using a lot, which I've been calling Rust. And the way that I get to that color is I use the number 17 crimson, bring that over into my palette. And I know Instagram can't see that in the palette, but Facebook can. So basically, I put a bunch of crimson into the palette, get it nice and wet so it can mix in with the other colors that are here. And then to get to the kind of rust color that I've been using, I add number 10 orange, just a little bit of it to warm it up a little bit, keeps it from being too dark. And then I add number 52 brown. And that's the brown I tend to go to all the time. It's just real chocolatey colored. And that gives us a nice, good rust color to start with. Okay, we're going to have that color. And then we're going to have a series of tan and brown and things like that. So what we're going to do is pull those over into the palette so we have them to grab. And I want to go ahead and make myself have a cleaner spot here. This one's a little bit muddy. Okay, so we're going to use number 3 yellow and number 10 orange to create some light tan colors. And I'm just cleaning off a spot in my palette so that you guys can see. Actually, I'm going to move my Instagram so you guys can see while I'm mixing colors before I get to my painting. Whoops. There we go. That might work. I just realized Instagram can't see what I'm doing over here. I'll just do it like this. Okay. Thank you all for being patient as I'm having to balance both of these. So I'm pulling number 10 orange and number 3 brilliant yellow. together. Those are going to create a nice warm yellow color. I'm going to put a lot more yellow in it. That'll be one of my colors. Hey, Mom joining on Instagram. Fun. Okay, and then I'm going to clean this part of the palette out. Give myself a nice clean spot to work. Just reactivate this color and wipe this one out. So we also need a light tan color. And to get to that tan, I'm going to try yellow ochre, which is pretty much the kind of color I want to start with. It might be a little too yellow. So let's see, I'll mix it with red ochre a little bit, make a tan color over here. Right there. So I'm basically getting a tan, an orange, and a red or rust color to start with. I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this tan, number 52 brown. Okay, so just getting lots of color down. And this one I'm going to water down a ton, and that's the one I'm going to start with. So I basically made like a skin tone. And that's where we're going to begin. All right, we're going to start with this skin tone. This is going to be our lightest color that we start with. I'm going to use my bigger brush and just sweep this over her whole face. Now, obviously, it's not actually skin. It's like burlap or something, whatever. Maybe not burlap, maybe sackcloth or potato sack or whatever you want to call it, that would create her face. But it's kind of nice to give it sort of a skin tone color. And then I'm actually going to paint her little jumper, or not the jumper, but the shirt underneath the jumper, a similar color. But I'm going to add a tiny bit of black to that tan, because I don't want it to look like it's all the same color. I'm adding just a little bit of black to that tan to make it more of a gray tan. And then just going to color in the sleeves, color in the shirt. And then the collar. And these little puffy sleeves. So she's got little puffy sleeves, and then she has little scalloped like wrist cuffs, I guess it would be called. Good morning, Valerie. She says, hi, y'all. That's perfect for a scarecrow. Happy fall, y'all. Daniel says, hey, howdy, hey. Good morning. So we're going to color in that whole sleeve with that more gray tan color, which is basically to make it look like a different color from her face. You don't want it the same color as the face. So pull that all the way down into her sleeve, and I'm adding just a little bit darker tan right now, which will also give it some shading. So think about underneath her arm here, we could do a little bit more shading. Down here by the sleeve, a little bit more shading. Just kind of filling in. And then I especially want down by the belt of the jumper, a little bit more shading, and then under those little straps. Just think about where the jumper is going to create a shadow. That'll kind of help. Underneath this collar, we can do a little bit of shading. And again, this painting is so small, it almost doesn't matter, but you can do a little bit here and there. We also want to do a little shading under her chin, above the, like on the collar, but under her chin. We're adding all this now because later we'll be working on other sections. We want to get this part kind of filled in and good to go. The color that inspired this shirt is actually similar to the color I used for the deer. We haven't used this gray-brown very much, and so you'll notice those are similar in color. So if you're having a hard time matching what I'm painting there, you can just refer back to your deer or go back to that video and look at it, but that's the color I'm pulling from. She's going to end up with a lot of the colors that we've used so far, except for turquoise. How many of you guys have a scarecrow in your yard or something like that? Has anybody ever made a real scarecrow and put it out in the yard? I don't know that we ever have. I know we've had like little scarecrow decorations, but not like a real one. Okay, so next we're gonna do her little bloomers. She's got these like little pant bloomer thingies underneath, and that's gonna be the same color. So that tan mixed with a little bit of black to make it more gray. And I'm just gonna do her little legs. And I thought about putting her on a stick, you know, just kind of like hanging her out there on a stick with some grass underneath. But I thought it looked kind of weird when I was drawing it out that way. So I just thought I'll leave her like she's kind of floating midair like a little doll. What I was trying to do was create a scarecrow that was not scary. To people, at least. I'm sure she'd still be scary to the birds. But I don't like the creepy looking scarecrows, so she's the cutest little scarecrow you've ever seen. That was my goal. How cute can I make a scarecrow? It's one of the reasons it ended up being a little girl. With her little bloomer pants and her giant head. I thought that would be cute. Okay, and she's got this little lace peeking out from under her dress jumper thingy. So I don't want to cover that up. So be careful not to color all the way in. But notice I'm again acting like I'm bad at coloring. See how that's not painted all the way in? Bonnie says she's so cute. Thanks, Bonnie. You're so sweet. Now I want to know who's following along. So find a really creative emoji and drop it in the comments if you are actually painting with me. I'd love to know who's following along. Alrighty, here we get to come to the hat, and the hat is going to be a nice tan color as well. So we'll start with this tan that we already mixed up. That's nice. Let me grab a scrap paper so you guys can see. Here's the color I'm using, and that's even lighter than it's gonna be, but that's what we're gonna start with. And that was that yellow ochre and red ochre mixed together to make that straw color. And we're going to paint her hat that color. I gave her this big sun hat instead of one of those floppy kind of country looking hillbilly hats, kind of. Every time I see those floppy leather ones, it reminds me of the Beverly Hillbillies. So she's got a big sun hat instead. I thought that would be cute. Nice big flowing sun hat. So here we're going to end up painting the top of her hat the same color as the bottom of her hat, or at least the same base color, but I don't want them to blend together because I want this one to be a little darker. So I'm going to work on just the bottom for now. I'm going to add another layer of shading closest to her head. I'm just adding more pigment there to create a little shadow. Like that. And I'm going to get even more of this tan because I'm running out on my palette, and a little bit of brown. Make sure I kind of touch it in those corners. I want that shading to be nice and dark by her head. Pam's got some cute emojis, a little cat face, and it looks like a little farmer, so that's really cute. Way to match our project today. And Leslie Ann Dixon found, I don't know what that emoji is. Is it a corn stalk? I can't tell. Or maybe a firework? It's really hard to tell what it is. You'll have to tell me what that is. And Tammy says she's following on YouTube. How fun. Well, it looks like you're commenting on Facebook, Tammy. So somehow your comments are coming through on Facebook. That's really cool, though. I'm so glad you figured out YouTube as well. All right, so just a little bit of shading on her hat. Isn't that cute? Gives her just enough to look darker there. And I'm going to just add a little bit more brown to finish up that area. I'm going to switch to my smallest brush, which is this size 0 Liquitex liner brush. Turn my painting around and kind of blend that brown in a little bit more. Just a wee bit more. So cute. Oh, I love it. Look at her little hat, guys. Aww. So even when you're painting small, you can put a little bit more detail in stuff, as long as you just take your time and enjoy it. It's fun. Look at that. Oh, she's so cute. I love it. I love it, guys. Leslie Ann says she was looking for cornstalk. Okay, so that must be like a little cornstalk. Oh, look at her little hat. So cute. Okay, we'll come back later. We'll do the top of her hat. I'm gonna let the bottom of her hat dry so that the colors don't blend together. And now we're gonna do the hay straw, I guess. The straw, not hay. We'll do the straw for her head or her hair last because the hat is still drying. But we're gonna do her little feet and her hands, her quote unquote feet and hands. And for that color, we mixed up this bright yellow. Well, I should say it was brilliant yellow and orange mixed together and made that nice, warm, sunny color. That's what we're going to use. We may add a little bit of yellow to this still, but because I don't like a whole bunch of that bright orange color. But I am going to water it down some. And we're just going to mimic, remember, our umbrella is kind of our color scheme reference. So we're going to kind of mimic that yellow that's there. And I'm not even going to paint. I know on the tracer, I gave you guys really, chunky things to trace because I wanted you to have something to follow. But for this, I'm actually just going to, I didn't really trace it very much myself. I'm actually just going to kind of freehand some straw that's just sticking out here and there. See, not bad. Just a little bit. It's still brighter than I want it to be, so I'm going to add a little bit of tan and kind of see if I can mute it just a little bit by adding a little bit of tan. I still want it to be kind of light, but I'm adding that darker gray tan color that we used for her body and kind of muting it just a little bit. See that? Oh, so cute. Bonnie says she likes to watch first, then watch the replay later so that she can pause and paint. That's a great idea. Yes, that is a really, really good way to do it, especially if you like to take your time or switch colors or do anything different. All right, I'm going to water down that sunny yellowy orange color that we made, and I'm going to use that for her hair, which I am still going to kind of freehand a little bit, even though I traced it out pretty well. You kind of just trace it like that. So I'm somewhat loosely following the tracer, but not real strict. And now I'm going to get that darker gray tan color and come in and do some more shading on her hair, kind of like I did on her hands. And for this, I want to concentrate the shading on just one side of each of those little square strands of hay, kind of along wherever the tracer lines were as well. And then especially anywhere there might be a shadow. So near her face, up near the little hair bands that are going to hold her little pigtails, and then up near the hat, especially. So kind of think about where the light's going to hit the most. And then if you're just totally not sure, just follow those tracer lines. That'll be great. And there's her little hair. Doesn't have to be real complicated. It's just hay. I'm going to use this bright yellow again just to come in and brighten it up just a little bit. Not a ton, just a little. I think that's pretty good. Like I said, I don't want to stray too much from the golden kind of color I used on the background on this. Okay, so there's her little hair. And now we're going to do a little bit of color on her lace down here at the bottom. And I'm just going to use the light tan for that. Just a little bit of light tan. And I'm not really coloring this in because it's lace. I'm actually just kind of polka dotting it. Letting my hand kind of shake and then doing squigglies like that. So that's how it's turning out, like this. Valerie says, grandson coming in from soccer, and she'll finish up later. Okay, Valerie, awesome. I can't wait to see yours. Okay, now I'm going to work on the top of her hat. Remember, we let the top of the hat wait while I filled in the bottom area. And so we're going to mix up that same kind of tan brown again. That's the number 52 brown and yellow ochre and those kind of colors. We come in on the top of her hat here. I'm going to leave a little bit of white space where the brim of the hat is and see if that helps it stay defined like that. And then on the top of the hat as well, I'm going to leave that little white space between the edge of the hat and the brim. I'm using my smallest brush because I don't want to paint in this flower accidentally. I'm just using my smaller tipped brush to make sure that doesn't get painted accidentally. And I'm not painting all the way in either. You'll notice I'm leaving some white space, pretending I'm not good at coloring things in. And then this ended up being a little warmer than the bottom half of the hat. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this tan color underneath the hat to make sure the top and the bottom match. So I'm just kind of putting a quick glaze over the hat on the bottom so they match. Like that. It's not bad at all. Now we can work on adding a little bit of shading to her body, her little probably potato sack or something body, I don't know. This brown, I'm going to add a little bit of shading around here and there, especially the bottom side of the arms and stuff, lining the jumper, up underneath the collar, up underneath her chin, and then up underneath the lace over here. On the inside of the legs, maybe just a little bit on the outside. Then I do want to do like some gathers down by her ankles. And then coming out from the ankle as well. Just a little bit more detail. You can do the same thing on her wrist right here. That's why I'm using my little brush, so I can get that shape. Like that. And then do her little scallops on the cuff. Kind of cute, just a little bit more shading. Now these lines where I've put the shadows are a little bit more harsh than I want them to be, so I'm going to take a clean wet brush and kind of fade those in so that they're not so crisp. And see how that helps just a little bit. There we go. See, just a little bit more shading really helps that stand out like that. Now I think I need maybe a little definition there on the edges of the hat, just to help it look more finished. So I'm using like a dark brown. And I'll use that color with my brush a little bit more wet so that it's smooth. The lines are smooth. And I'm going to do that on the top of the hat too. My goal isn't to outline the hat, although in reality I end up nearly outlining it. But I don't really want to create a perfect border around it. I just want to make it where my eye can see that edge a little bit better. And since it is so small, a lot of times we end up needing to actually almost outline the whole thing. Okay, and I'm just using that same brown watered down to kind of blend it into the hat a little bit so it doesn't look so harsh. See that? Doesn't that help the hat a little bit? There we go. All right, so now we get to work on the part that I am so excited about, which is her dress. And I'm going to use my bigger brush to start. We're going to start with a very light tan color. That's going to be that yellow, watered down a lot. And I mean really watered down, so nearly not there. And then fill in her dress. So I'm going to water this down even more and just push this pigment around. And I would leave white space, but we're going to do plaid over top of this, so I'm just going to color the whole thing in. And I'm going to do the little straps over her shoulders and the belt. And leave the buttons for another color. Okay, that needs to dry. Oh, I am going to add a little shading now, so I don't have to do it later on top. So I'm going to put some shading on the right side of the dress, up underneath the, I'm sorry, that's the left side of the dress. The left side of the dress, up under the belt, and I'm even going to come down the right side some. So basically adding shading to the bottom, to the underside, sorry, not the underside, to the first layer of color, so that we don't have to add it later. Learned that when I was working on the umbrella. I realized, oh, I need to add the shading before we get to the layers. It's going to be a lot better that way. Basically just adding shading wherever it makes sense to add shading. So those edges, we can do a little bit of shading with my smaller brush along this scalloped edge as well. I'm going to grab tan, darker tan. I need to flip this sideways so I can follow that edge with my brush. Like that. And I can use that darker tan color. Kind of just fill in those scallops a little bit. And then I can even do like kind of those little gathers like that. And all this is we're gonna put our plaid over this, but having it already in place means we don't have to do it later, and it's gonna look way better. Okay, and now I'm gonna think about, okay, my hat is pretty dark, so I need to make sure whatever shading is darkest on the rest of the painting kind of matches that. So I'm going to add an even darker edge along these scallops. Got that cute little scalloped edge. And I'm going to even do that darker color along the edges of the skirt here and up underneath the belt. I'm going to take a clean wet brush and go along these scallops. Kind of help those fade in a little bit. Like so. Ta-da! So just giving her, see how dark this shading is up here by the hat? We're kind of giving it the same depth on the skirt as well. All about those layers. I love layering. And I like to add a little, you know, and then keep going, because then you don't add too much all at once. There we go. And coming down the right side as well with some of that shading. And then just down the edge like that. Ta-da! Okay, so her skirt has most of the shading that it needs already in place. So as we come in and fill in the rest of the colors, I'm not going to need to do that shading. So that's really nice. I also need to do it to the straps. I'm just going to put a good dark line on the left and right of the straps, and then kind of up here under her hair, and then around the belt as well. So see how that gives it almost all of its shape. I'm going to outline these buttons. That might help us a little. I'm going to take a clean wet brush and fade all that in. Like that. You could leave her dress like this, by the way. It looks pretty good like it is, but I want to give her some plaid that's going to match the rest of the paintings. Like that. Okay, that's pretty cute. I think it's super cute. All right, so that is our base coat of color. Now we just need to keep this little umbrella in mind. Now her base color has gotten a lot darker, but still we're going to use the same technique to do her plaid, and I'm going to do that lighter colored plaid, that more yellow color. And so we're just going to add a golden color. Good morning, Terry. I'm so glad to see you on. Thanks, Daniel. He says super cute. It seems like the color is a little bright on Facebook, so maybe I need to have like a shadow or something, but tell me if you guys can see well enough on Facebook. Alrighty, I know Instagram is always super clear. I don't know why that is. All right, so we're gonna do her plaid at an angle, and I just figured out when I'm doing plaid, it's way more forgiving if you do it at an angle. If you do it straight, then you have to get all your lines like perfectly straight. But the cool thing is, when you're doing plaid on a little drawing like this, you don't have to necessarily have you don't have to follow the bends of the fabric. So like these little wrinkles I put in here on her dress, they don't necessarily have to be, we don't have to follow them with our lines. Oh, good, you can see. Oh, good. Nice eyeball emoji. So the other thing I just forgot is I wanted a little bit of pleats in the top of her skirt right under the belt. So I'm going to add those real quick. Those are actually on your tracer too. So if you want to follow those, you can. I'm going to add those really quick. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that the plaid will look good if you just go straight across. You don't have to necessarily follow the curves of the fabric. So the only time I change the plaid is if I am like, if the fabric is sewn together. So you'll notice in a minute when I add the plaid in, I will change it when I get to the belt and to the straps as far as the angle of it. But other than that, you can just go straight across. So make sure your painting is dry, and we're going to wait for that to dry. So I'm going to work on this little flower up in her hair for just a few minutes. That flower is going to be a sunflower, which we just did a whole month of sunflowers. So that was really great. Good morning, Grandma. I will give you a call. Yes, for sure. Love your painting stuff. So interesting. Love you too, Grandma. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we did a whole bunch of sunflowers last month, which means, of course, I had to find some way to incorporate some sunflowers this month. And here's a little sunflower in her hair, or in her hat. So we're going to do if you remember doing the sunflowers, I'm going to do basically what I taught you guys, super tiny, starting with some orangey petals. going all the way around. And of course, this is tiny, so it's not going to be near as detailed. We're going all the way around like that with that orange. And then I'm going to use a lighter tan and kind of pull the leaves or the petals all the way out. And I'm going to grab our rust red. Can you tell I'm excited that I get to paint another sunflower? I'm like, yay! I love it. I loved painting all those sunflowers. I almost didn't want that theme to end because I was having way too much fun with the sunflowers. Okay, then I'm going to paint, and all I'm doing is painting the base of those little petals red. If you want to know what I'm doing and see it way better, you should go back and watch the replay of some of my lives from last month. We did so many good, fun sunflowers. Okay, and then I'm painting in those centers, and now I'm just going to do the center of the sunflower in a deep brown. Now we have some good deep colors in this, deep brown colors in this painting as well, so I think I'm okay to go kind of dark on that. I'm still using my tiniest brush because I just don't want it to slip and hit something it shouldn't. So I'm going to dot like little polka dots on the center of this flower on just the left-hand side, and then I'm going to clean my brush off and come back with like a light brown because I don't actually want the whole center of that flower to be black. There we go. There's a little flower. I do need to outline the edges of these petals a little bit because they're hard to see. I'm just going to come up underneath them and create a little shadow on the bottom side of those flower petals. That way we can see them a little better. That'll make that flower stand out just a little bit more. See that? Now you can see it's there. Kind of coming up under the edge with that same, almost the same black we used to outline the hat. It's not really black, it's kind of a mixture of red and black. It's that rust color, but darker. Ta-da! Isn't that cute? I think she's really cute. I am having so much fun with these doodles. You guys, I like to paint small, and I hope you do too because I'm having so much fun with it. All right, this next color. Now we're going to come into her dress because her dress has had enough time to dry. This is going to be that light tan color. It's the golden color we made with brilliant yellow and orange, and it's got a little bit of brown in it to make it more tan. And yeah, I'm going to use that to make the stripes. So we're going to go at an angle. Ready and go. And these are going to be bigger stripes. Oops, like that. So and see how I'm not going to skip over where the little folds and things are in her dress. I'm just going to come right over them. And even though we're going straight across, it's not going to look weird. It'll look fine. You'll see. It's actually really cute just with stripes. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Oh, man. I want one. I often find myself painting little dresses and things and thinking, I want one of these dresses. These are cute. Okay, so I'm going to keep the same angle on her straps, kind of like this, as if that's one piece of fabric going all the way across. Just going to keep that same angle. But on her belt, like I said earlier, I'm going to switch it. So I'm actually going to go straight up and down on her belt. So nice bold stripes going up and down. Just like you would if you were sewing, you wouldn't want to have to line that up. You'd change it so you wouldn't have to keep your lines perfectly straight. That's pretty cute already, you guys. Isn't that adorable? I love the way the golden color looks on these paintings. It's really pretty. All right, now we're going to go the opposite way. I'm going to start with the stripe that's closest to the center of her skirt. So we have like a point of reference. Whoops. And I'm going to try to make it exactly straight on. What do you call that? Perpendicular, whatever, to the others. And then you just basically want to make them the same width and go the opposite direction. You can make plaid really easily with highlighters, I have noticed, because number one, they're slightly transparent or what translucent, whatever, and they have a nice chisel tip. So if you want to use something quicker to make a cute plaid, I've made plaid a lot with highlighters. It's really fun. And then you can come back with like a fine tip Sharpie or something like that. Okay, and look, this looks like gingham right now. You could leave this like gingham. That would be really cute. I'm going to bring that same tee. So see, I'm working in a real small space, and technically you can't really see the plaid up here. Almost sounded like platypus. You can't really see the plaid up here, but your eye knows, oh, she's carrying that same pattern all the way up. So your eye will fill in the blanks for you. So just keep going with it as if you have a lot of space to work in those straps up on her shoulder. And don't worry about it if it kind of is hidden. I'm going to go across this way. Same with this one, you know. You're not going to see all the plaid on her belt here, but your eye knows that you're doing the same thing all the way across. Look at that. Bonnie says, painting small is definitely a challenge for me, but I'm really enjoying this challenge. It's great practice with learning watercolor. Thank you. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Grandma says so cool or so cute. Terry Watson says she is so cute. Thank you. I love her dress. I mean, look at this dress. Isn't that sweet? I just think that's so cute. Okay. I know, I'm gushing a little bit over this little doll. She looks like a doll. That was my goal. I didn't really want her to look like a scarecrow. She's like a scarecrow doll. She's really cute. Okay, now I'm going to grab the rust color. And if you'll look at, actually, I'm not going to do that one first. I'm going to do the orange first. So you'll look here. There are two colors of stripe here. There's like an orangey one and a red one. And that's what we're going to use. And I even did both those colors on the little ribbon on the apples too. So basically that's what we're going for. So the next color is going to be more of a deeper orange. So that same number 10 orange with yellow added to it and brown. I'm just going to let it be a little darker. And that's the color we're going to end up with, just kind of. And let's see, people on Facebook, you can see this orange right here. This is the one I'm mixing up. I'm adding more brown to it because I want it to be, I don't really like orange for the most, well, I don't like the bright oranges. I like the more fall leaf kind of oranges for this collection at least. And here's the color I end up with for those of you who are following along. This is kind of the color. So that's what you'll be using. And I'm going to wet this brush, get quite a bit of pigment on the brush so it glides nicely across the page. Now the goal here is to put a stripe on top of or in between every one of these yellow stripes we've just made. So basically I'm going to just be real careful, and I'm going to get real close to Totes Adorbs. Thank you. Totes Adorbs twice, once with an exclamation point. Fun. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go in between each of the yellow stripes. So just kind of keep your eye on your page. I need to add a little yellow because it's not quite as orange as I need it to be. I'm adding a tiny bit of yellow to this. But watch that you don't like skip a section or something on your plaid. Just make sure you're going between each of the yellow golden stripes you've already done. I need to wet my brush a little more so it glides more. And your stripes don't have to be perfect. When I did the umbrella, I purposefully made some of them kind of thick and thin and skippy and all that so that they didn't look perfect. So it's okay if your stripes are inconsistent in size, because once you add them all in, it'll look right. It'll be okay. And on something like fall stuff, it actually looks cuter for them to be inconsistent. Just looks better. Okay, there's our little stripes. So cute. Okay, we're gonna go all the way up to the straps up here, remember? And then on her belt as well, don't forget. Okay, and now we're gonna do the opposite. So I'm gonna turn her around, and we're gonna add those stripes this way. Coming down this way, in between every one of the yellow stripes. So just kind of give your eyes time to adjust, because I know as you add the layers, you're like, okay, I'm going cross-eyed, there's so many stripes. Just think, okay, I did those big golden stripes. I'm going between each of those big golden stripes. All the way down. Look how cute. Look how cute she is. Guys, I think she's adorable. I love this plaid. I wish I could just paint what I want to wear and then it would just appear in my closet. Wouldn't that be amazing? I'd have to get pretty good at painting. Okay, so then on her belt as well, I think I'd get real good at painting clothes if that was a thing. If I could just paint the clothes I wanted and they'd pop up in my closet, I'd get really good at painting. Okay. All right, we're almost done with this plaid. And frankly, like almost every step of this plaid, you could have stopped at. You could have stopped at the yellow and it would have been cute gingham. You could have stopped at this point and leave it just like that. It's pretty cute already. But I'm going to go one step further. And we're going to add that rust color that we mixed up so nicely at the beginning. And that is, remember, that is crimson, orange, and brown mixed together. I'm going to get my brush nice and wet. And now for this, Bonnie says, that would be amazing. I know, right? If you could paint what you wanted to wear and it just, ding, there it is in your closet, that would be amazing. Okay, so for this step, rather than painting the stripe in between each of your golden stripes, you're going to paint it right down the center of every golden stripe. So just look at your golden stripes. You got your nice deep red. You're going to paint it right down the middle. And now be careful to keep your red stripes thin enough that you don't cover up the golden stripes completely. And then also make sure your red stripes stay straight, because sometimes you're following the golden stripes and maybe the golden stripe wasn't that straight to begin with because it was light and big and kind of preliminary. So just make sure you do keep those lines straight as much as you can. I mean, obviously it's not super critical, but it helps for it to look straight. Okay, turning it, oh, I guess I should finish the one going this way first. I'm going to do her straps up here. And I'm not going to fit a ton because obviously this is such a small space. Just going to kind of do a few up there, as many as I can fit. And then her belt as well. So going right across the golden stripes. All the way to the edge. On either side of the buttons and kind of along her waist as well. And then up and down, we're going to do the up and down ones, which is the opposite. So going down the golden stripes, going up and down. Along the sides. That's pretty cute. Right there. And then also on her straps. Like that. And now don't forget her skirt coming right down the middle. the way down. Look how cute! Oh, I love it. It always looks really cool when you get the last stripes down. Ah, okay, guys, what do you think? So cute! Oh my goodness, I think she's so cute. Okay, we spent a lot of time on this plaid, so I'm gonna let that rest for a little bit because we still have to do her face. So let me go ahead and finish her little face. She needs her face to be a little bit darker tan, so I'm just gonna grab the same tan we mixed up earlier, and it's kind of a brownish tan, and color in her face a little more just because it's really light compared to everything else. So I want to give it a little darker color. You could even, if you wanted to do something cute, you could give her little blush circles on her cheeks or something like that. I'm giving a little bit more shading around the outside of the face and under her hairline. And then just going to kind of water my brush down and fade it out all the way across her face. So just darkening everything up basically. I'm going to add a little bit more shading on her legs. I want to do the lace, the edge of the lace. More. And then on the edges of her legs, just because the dress is so dark that I can go a little darker on the legs. And mostly I'm waiting for the face to dry so I can come back in and do that. So I always find something to do while things are drying, even if it's not real critical. She did have buttons on her shirt too, didn't she? I forgot about those. We'll have to add those in. Don't let me forget. If I get to the end and I don't do her buttons, somebody poke me. Okay, adding just a little bit more shading around the scallops of her little cuffs, on her sleeve, under her collar, under her chin, and then underneath this lace once again. See how that darkens it up just a little bit, gives her a little bit more going on. Need to do the edges of these too. Like that. Maybe give her a little bit more on her hair too. Give her a little more shading on her hair. And just outline the shape of the hair a little bit better. Especially these strands that are sticking out by her face. I want to make sure that that all looks like something's a real shape over there, not just random. Although random is cute sometimes, but we've got stuff going on our tracer that we can highlight. So mostly just adding dark shadows wherever it looks like the shape of her hair isn't very defined, so that our eye can see it better. And then I can do the same thing with that, and I'm using that dark brown again. I can do the same thing down here on these little bits of hay sticking out, or straw, whatever. I always get those two mixed up in my head. I know they're different, but I don't say them right. All right, so her little legs and arms are a little bit more defined. Now she has a little nose. You might have noticed she has a little nose. I'm going to do it this light orange color that we used for the second layer of orange stripes. And do it that real light orange, like that. And it's just a triangle. Now I can do her eyes. She's got some brown coming over here. Now I'm going to do her eyes. I'm going to look at the tracer again because her eyes just kind of disappeared. I want to know where I put them. I guess they were kind of off center, weren't they? Okay. So I'm going to get that dark brown, again, super dark. It's almost black, like almost brown and black mixed together. I want it real wet on my brush so that my brush will glide across the page. There's her little eyes. And I did a dotted mouth. I'm going to do a dotted mouth and then see if I like it. If I don't, I'll turn it into a regular mouth. But I thought it might make her look more like a stitched doll if I did a dotted mouth. And then she's got her little grinning cheeks. What do you think? I don't know. She looks a little bit like scarier that way somehow. Maybe I'll smooth it out. Yeah, I like her better smoothed out. That's cuter. She looks cuter that way. I agree with myself. Okay, now I'm going to do her little buttons. We'll do those in that darker brown too, since her mouth is pretty dark. We'll do some of that detail a little darker. So I'm going to outline the buttons with that dark brown. It's like almost black. It's what we used for the center of the sunflower. She is so cute. Bonnie's getting punny over here. She says she is SEW cute. That's adorable, Bonnie. Great pun. Gotta love it. Okay, my brush wasn't quite smooth enough because my ink was too dry, so I wet it a little bit. Now it's gliding smoother. I can do my little buttons. I'm going to paint these almost all the way in, leave a little shine, like that, and take a clean brush and kind of color that in. There we go. All right, I'm going to take this darkest brown and basically just add a little bit of that darkest brown on some of the edges of things, just to carry the brown of her mouth throughout the painting so it doesn't look like that's the only place where it's that dark. So that's a good idea if you do eyes or something on a painting and they're looking really beady and creepy. It's probably because it's the only thing that's that dark in your painting. You just need to carry that darker color, even very little. See how little I'm adding? Just need to carry that darker color throughout your painting, and then it'll make sense to your eye. Be like, oh, okay. It's possible for that to have that dark of a black because look, there's black in the rest of the painting. So that's what I'm doing right now. Just keeping our eyes from looking beady and creepy. Can go up underneath the little skirt here with some of this. Oh, Twyla, she's like, thankfully you have replays. I'm so glad you get to watch the replay too, Twyla. You will like this one, I'm sure. I can't wait to see you paint it. You've been doing an amazing job. I cannot wait for you to paint this one. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see all your plaid, you guys. And if you decide to do plaid on something else, you can change the colors on it. So just change, start with a lighter shade of something and then darken it up and use that for the layers. It works. It's so fun. And it's such a good way to add a texture to something without really you don't have to do a ton of work. I mean, you're just adding layers of color. I'm bringing this brown down the sides of the dress because I think it needs it. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit in her hair. Don't let me forget the buttons on the front of the shirt, guys. Don't let me forget those buttons. Those will be cute. Gotta keep track of me. All right. So I don't think I saw. Does anybody have a scarecrow, or have you ever built a scarecrow or had a scarecrow in your property? I don't think I saw anybody answer that question. We've put things out to scare the birds, but not scarecrows. Like other things that would scare birds. Like pieces of plastic and stuff. All right, there's just a little bit more shading on her legs. See how that carries that darker color further down? It really helps a lot, keeps it from looking weird. And also, see what I mean by the dark colors make the light colors pop? All those light colors, now your eye can see them. You're like, oh, they're in contrast to those real dark colors. Otherwise, they just fade into the background. Ta-da! See? Just a little bit. I know I keep adding more and more, but it's because those buttons are so dark. I'm wanting some darker color down here. There we go. Looking good. Looking good. Okay, now for the buttons on her shirt and the hair bands in her hair and the little stitches on her nose. I'm kind of concerned about doing the stitches on her nose, to be honest. They're so small, and on the tracer I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, but I think it adds to it. Okay, her little hair bands are red, or that rust red. I'm coloring those in. Just a little bit of red there, a rust color there. And then I think for her nose, I'm just going to do real light tan. Just want it to look like it's stitched on. I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to use the orange that I used earlier and make it more of a tan color. Make sure I got a lot of it on my brush. And then just do some real small stitches on the side, on the bottom, and on the other side. Well, that's not too bad. Okay, I'm okay with it. I think it's cute. All right, and I'm going to do her little buttons. I think I'll do them red, little rust-colored buttons to pull in the red from her jumper. Here's a button, 2, oops. Let me get a little bit more pigment on my brush so I can make a round dot. And 3. All right, guys, there she is. Terry says she has 2 on her front porch. You have 2 scarecrows on your front porch? How cute. All righty. This is our doodle a day for today. We're finished with our little scarecrow. Let me back this up and show you guys some of the others that are going to match it. So here is the umbrella, and here is the barrel of apples or basket of apples. And that is the 3 paintings so far that have the same color scheme. And I want to show you guys how this looks next to some of the other paintings. So here's our truck and our pumpkin, our blue pumpkin. Here she is front and center. Our deer, looking good on the deer, and the leaf. See how that leaf has some of that deeper red in it too? And also our original acorn. So she's looking pretty good next to all of those, I have to say. I think she looks super cute, and her little plaid matches the plaid on the basket of apples and on the umbrella. So that's pretty neat. Alrighty, so that is all I have for you guys today. And let's see, Tammy says, yay, I did it. I did it along with you. Yay, Terry, or Tammy. I'm seeing Terry and Tammy's comments right next to each other. Tammy, great job. I can't wait to see your picture of it. Make sure you post that so we can all see. And that's all I have today. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you will watch my post for tomorrow. It's Sunday, so I will not actually be live. But I hope that you jump on tomorrow to see a tracer, and feel free to use it if you're doing Bible journaling or any kind of fun thing tomorrow, just to have something fun. I'm just going to put that post out there so you guys can see it. But I'll be at church, so I won't be live. I hope you will be too. Alrighty, take care, everybody. God bless you, and thanks so much for joining me. Have a happy Saturday. Bye.